Today I'm with Dr. Matt Sweeney and we are going to rank every modality to injury prevention. Matt is a licensed sport physical therapist, a CrossFit coach, and an expert of sports science. So to start, why not begin with the most classic tool, the ice pack? Overrated or underrated?
Overrated. It was really popular 20 years ago, and more research has come out recently that shows if you ice something too much, it can slow down the healing. It's good when it's needed, but it was definitely overemphasized previously.
Where would you rank it?
D.
The second one is the heat pack.
Heat packs are still overrated. It doesn't really help injuries heal any quicker, but I do think it can help you feel looser, which is great.
And where's the final ranking going?
C.
Next, we have active recoveries. Anything like a bike or a slow walk.
Underrated for sure. The cool down or the active recovery after your workout, it's not the most important thing in the world, but it can help flush your body of some of that lactic acid and make you a little bit less sore for your next workout. If you skip the active recovery, it's okay, but if you do it, you're gonna feel even better for your next workout.
And where we're putting active recovery?
B.
Warm up.
Underrated. I think a lot of people skip it and they get right to their exercise. Getting your body temperature up with the warm up decreases injury risk, and we know it preps the body for the demands you're about to put on it. Just those two things alone, improve performance, decrease injury. The warm up is really important, and I would put it at the top tier.
Soft tissue or deep tissue massage?
I think they're overrated. A lot of people rely on them too much to get over injuries, but a lot of injuries require more than that to actually get proper rehab. There needs to be some level of strengthening that happens too, and I think some people miss that piece.
And where would you rank that?
B.
Next, we have cupping.
Overrated for sure. It's something that gained popularity after the Olympics with Michael Phelps. It's something that you can see visibly on other people, so it grew in popularity I think very quickly because of that. Soft tissue can be helpful for decreasing inflammation, swelling, muscle tightness, chronic fascial adhesions, that type of thing. I give it B.
The next one, dry needling and acupuncture.
I think it's underrated. It's the new cool thing for PTs. It can be very effective when other techniques aren't working, like you're trying foam roll, you're trying lacrosse ball, you're trying to get the muscle to loosen up. Dry needling can sometimes be that thing that it gets it done, and it can work very quickly, which PTs are excited about because most things in the rehab world take a very long time. I'm gonna give it an A.
Chiropractic medicine. Any like spinal or neck manipulation?
Overrated. They've been around for a very long time, and some people tend to rely on them for kind of a quick fix type of mentality. They're great getting someone short-term relief. The joint mobilizations, some people are just hooked on them and they're not willing to do other things.
Where would you put chiropractic medicine?
B category.
Painkillers, your Advils, your ibuprofens.
I think it's overrated. I think people tend to use it too much. Tylenol can help to reduce pain. Ibuprofen can help pain and swelling, but ibuprofen is great if you're trying to feel better in the moment. Go for it, take it. With training, I probably would try to not take it. If you take it too much when you don't need it, it can slow the healing down. Use it when appropriate, but people probably take it more than they should. I'm gonna put that at B.
Water therapy.
It's underrated. It's fantastic for people who are coming off of surgery because they're not ready yet, their joint isn't ready yet. It's great for people with arthritis. It's hard if you don't have access to a pool. Some people who are too reliant on the pool, where they're not getting enough resistance training, maybe on land with bands, with weights, you need some level of resistance strengthening, so I'm gonna give it A.
The sauna.
I'm gonna say it's rated appropriately. There's just been so many studies out there that show even for like 10 minutes reduces all-cause mortality. I don't know if the science has really caught up to why that is. I think there's a lot to be studied with heat acclimatization, sweating, getting the heart rate elevated. I think it's a great adjunct. It does not replace exercise. There's some people who are using that in lieu of exercise, which is not okay. I'm putting it at A.
So the next one is the opposite, chirotherapy.
I'm gonna group that, cold plunges, cold baths, ice baths. I think most people would say overrated, and I think we can thank probably Andrew Huberman for that because he's been big on it. I think people are overhyping the benefits of it. It gives you mental toughness. Anything can do that. You don't have to jump in ice. There's different ways you can do that. There's some really cool benefits as far as like recovery, cold shock proteins in the body, the brown fat and the tissue metabolism that are happening with the cold plunge, cardiovascular system, like vascularity. The human body has been able to adapt to all these different temperatures and environments, and I think it's not necessarily good that we just stay in 70 degrees in AC all the time. I think exposing the body to different temperatures is productive, and I think it's beneficial beneficial. What they have found with ice versus ice baths is that if you hop in there immediately after, especially a strength or resistance training bout of exercise, you can decrease your ability to make gains with hypertrophy. If you're into ice baths, they say wait after you strength train or do it before you strength train. And a counter argument to that I've heard is that unless you are competing for a qualifying spot in the Olympics, it probably doesn't matter. I'll give that a B.
Yoga, passive stretching.
It's underrated. Yoga itself is fantastic for stability and core style work. The two pieces that yoga may be missing are cardio and resistance training. Passive stretching helps with flexibility. So if you're someone who lacks flexibility, if you don't have optimal mobility and you're an athlete and you don't have it, you're going to be lacking performance. So like, it is important. It does not reduce injury risk unless you're putting yourself in a position that you're not ready for and you probably should have had the mobility for it. So let's go B with that.
Resistance training.
It's appropriately rated. I think we all know that strength training is the best. It could look like banded work and like pink weights. If you do nothing else but you have an appropriate rehab strengthening program, you're probably going to be okay. All this other stuff helps, but if you're missing the strength training, you might not get better.
So S tier, no question. All types of foam rolling. Lacrosse ball, tennis ball, big foam roller, small foam roller.
I think it's appropriately rated because it was so overhyped. People took it and ran with it and it just became like the end all be all. And then it had pretty serious backlash. You're just rolling around on the floor. Like, you're probably getting more benefits out of the movement you're doing versus the actual rolling that you're doing to yourself. It has its time and place. If all you're doing for a muscle knot or a tightness is rolling, you're definitely missing the boat. It's good, it's appropriate, and I think we're at the right level of expectation for it. That's gonna go in B.
All types of braces for any joints, elbow, knee.
Overrated. They don't help you with strength. Do they help you with knee pain? That's subjective, but probably not. Do they help keep your joint warm? Yes. If you feel like having a knee sleeve has improved your ability of your joint to feel better, that's really where it helps the most. It doesn't provide you a ton of stability. Knee sleeves themselves, they're not going to prevent injury. They're not going to make you lift more, and they may make the joint feel better, which can create some performance improvements from that. I'm going to go B.
Athletic tape.
Ankle tape is underrated. It does provide more stability, 100%. Definitely very effective. When you need it, it does what you think it does. I'm going to give that an A.
Kinesio tape.
I would still consider it overrated. The two best reasons to use it are not the reasons you expect. One is a postural. If you tend to be in like a slouch forward position, the tape will actually pull on you a little bit to get up into a better posture. You can use it for bruising. So if you pull a muscle bad enough, it'll bruise. And then when you remove the tape a few days later, the areas where the tape were, the bruising will be gone. You wouldn't expect it to be used for that, but it can help in some circumstances for the swelling and for posture. I'm gonna go B with Kinesio tape.
Electric stimulation theory.
Underrated. The E-Stim, you can strengthen and activate specific muscles with it.
Where are we putting it?
A.
Surgery.
Is it overrated? Yes. Is it absolutely necessary? Oh yeah. A lot of people are getting surgeries when they haven't appropriately tried enough PT to try to avoid some of these surgeries. It's effective, but it needs to be in its place appropriately. I'm gonna give it S because without it, our medical system wouldn't be half of what it is.
Stem cells.
It's very highly rated right now, I think appropriately. One of the best places to harvest them from are embryos, umbilical cords. You can get versions of stem cells from bone marrow, blood, fat. The issue with stem cells is that there is a lot of these independent clinics that are popping up, but I'm hesitant to recommend without consulting many different professionals because it's not for every condition and not for every person, just so you're not getting ripped off. I'm gonna give them an A.
The Gua Muscle Scraper.
I think underrated. Gua Sha is the name of it. Scraping is the layman's term for it. Just a way to get blood flow into the muscle. I like them slightly better for like chronic tendon type of stuff. I would rate it same as cupping.
Normatech Boots.
I think they're appropriately rated. Originally, they were created for people with lymphedema. People with lymphedema have incredibly swollen legs. Putting these boots on for them, visibly there's less swelling. They help just circulate their body. They need them. They need to use them sometimes once a day. The same concept was used for people in athletics that like, hey, if we have lactic acid, if we have really sore legs or swelling, we can use these, circulate the body. The people who would argue against it would say you can do the same thing by hopping on a stationary bike for 5 minutes, which is valid, but I think Normatech boots do have a place, especially with swelling. Like let's say you have a knee injury and hopping on a bike doesn't feel that great. I think it's a good option. I'm gonna give that a B as well.
The massage gun.
I would say they're appropriately rated. It's a great way to get either soft tissue or deep tissue work. I think the ease of access that device has created is fantastic. It's not new technology. Massage guns have been around forever, but as far as the rehab perspective, I would go B.
Elevation. Using gravity.
I mean, if anything, probably underrated. I think people aren't doing as much as they should. I would use elevation for swelling. Anytime you can get your limb above your heart, it's gonna drain the blood, drain the swelling. That's kind of a tried and true method. I don't think anybody has any backlash against that. It's not gonna make incredible changes, but it's gonna do exactly what you think it's gonna do. I'd put that in A category for sure.
So now we have the creams and gels, so like BioFreeze, the Icy Hots, whatever kind of cream you want to use.
It's appropriately rated. That stuff's not gonna make your injury heal any faster. As far as a ranking system, I think it's doing a very good job at what it's supposed to do, which is decreasing pain. You have the pain gate theory, which is almost a distracting thing, so your body has trouble feeling too many sensations at once, so you don't feel the pain as much. There's a version of it called Voltaren. It can actually help reduce inflammation, which none of the other creams can do that. In general, people realize the purpose of them. I'm gonna put them in A.
This is like kind of a collection of everything. It's your x-rays, your MRIs.
It's overrated. People rely on it too much. In some ways, it's the best. If I'm trying to get a complicated medical procedure, let's say like you have a disc that's slightly bulging, you might never ever feel it. But the psychological impact of knowing that, hey, my L3 is slightly bulged to the right, when I turn that way and I felt my back that day, did I just hurt my L3 vertebrae more? Like we talked about the other day, ignorance is bliss, and what we see, whether it's a disc, ligament, isn't really gonna change what we do in the rehab setting. You need to factor in other things. If we didn't have it, we'd be so far behind. It has to go in the S category.
Red light therapy.
I think it's still overrated. There's some really, really interesting benefits. The ease of access isn't great. It's hard to get it.
Where are we ranking this?
C.
Hyperbaric oxygen chambers.
I think most people would say overrated. It's basically a legal form of blood doping, which is awesome for endurance athletes. It doesn't help anything that much comparatively for anything else. I'm gonna put that in D.
The importance of nutrition.
Extremely underrated. If you're not optimizing your nutrition, you're missing out. I don't think there's a one size fits all. I think it's always interesting where you get some of these elite athletes. Chad Ochocinco comes to mind, who seems to have a pretty high diet of McDonald's. He's ripped and he is 0.0001% of athleticism. Like nobody can argue that. But yeah, the kind of argument is like, how good could you have been if you did optimize your nutrition? We'll never know. It's an experiment that can't be done. So there are some people that can get away with a bad diet. Most of us can't. Most of us need to be dialed in. I'm gonna put in the S category.
This is Matt's final list ranked, and if you enjoyed and learned something new, consider dropping a like for his advice. But before you go, drop Matt a follow at Strength and Sport PT and his show, The Roadie Strength Podcast. And if you want to see more, I just dropped a video ranking every football pitch in the world.